Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about how to put together a simple PowerPoint presentation and highlight some of the important factors or elements that need to be part of your PowerPoint presentation. So the first thing that I stress, and the thing that is most important, is your content. Before you start to worry about text, formatting, backgrounds, pictures, you need to put your content into place. So one of the first things I like to do is start by outlining some ideas that I want for my PowerPoint presentation. So to start, I need to have a title page, which is Introduction to the Cold War. In my PowerPoint, my goal or my objective for the presentation is to kind of give an overview for what the Cold War is, to kind of introduce it to the class. So I know that I want to introduce the Cold War. I also know I want some sort of hook, and I will come back and work on that later. I know that I want to provide a definition of the Cold War, and I know that I want to provide, the extent of the Cold War and how that's going to go. So that's what I hope to achieve with my PowerPoint presentation, those four main factors. And now what I can do is I can go back and work on the text or the content of my PowerPoint. Again, make sure you include the content and you worry about the content before you go and you do the background and the formatting and the animation and the colors and pictures, etc. So at this point, I know that I've sort of decided that I want my hook to be something that is going to really kind of make the students understand the rivalry that exists between the United States and the Soviet Union in the Cold War. And so what I've done is I've found a video that is the 1980 Olympic game between the United States. It's a semifinal game between the United States and the Soviet Union, and I'm going to include that. What I did before, if you didn't see, is I actually clicked on, in the format that was already established there, I clicked on the video reel. At that point, this window here popped up, and then at that point, I'm going to click on the video that I want, and I hit Insert. All right, and that video should hopefully pop into the screen, and ultimately what I'll do is I'll only have to click on it and it will play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, knowing that I'm using the Miracle on Ice video, I'm going to now title that. All right, so that will be my hook. Again, notice I'm not worrying about the coloring, I'm not worrying about the text or anything like that. I'm just worrying about the content, what I'm inserting into the PowerPoint. Now I also know that I want to provide a definition for the Cold War. I know that, I kind of want to define, what that is, just so when my students have, a definition in mind, or have just sort of a general background of what it is. So I've actually found a definition online. All right, I'm going to insert that in. And remember that I'm just trying to get the general content on here. All right, and we'll come back and fix that in a little bit to kind of make it a little bit better. So I've inserted a definition in here. Now, I also know that I want to discuss the extent of the Cold War. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to kind of type notes, of what I know about the Cold War and what I want the students to know. So I know that the Cold War began following World War II in 1945 and lasted until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. I also know that the Cold War touched upon many events in the years between 1945 and 1991. And by events, I could also say events, conflicts, issues, that kind of embraces all of it. I also know that there's a lot of events that I want to include that the students would know. So again, for now, I'm just going to insert them in in here from text that I have, and because yellow is a hard color to see, I'm going to put it black. All right, so now I have a lot of my content on here. Again, remember, content is the most important. However, when you have a PowerPoint presentation, you really shouldn't be giving a PowerPoint presentation that's just full of words. Remember, PowerPoints are supposed to be to highlight certain and important information, and key the audience in on keywords and information. But it shouldn't be wordy or overwhelming to the viewer. And again, I as a presenter shouldn't be reading the PowerPoint to the audience. I should instead be kind of discussing and talking and presenting the information. So there's no real purpose in having wordy information like this. So instead, I would maybe say state of hostility between the U.S. and USSR. Okay, and then maybe kind of bullet some of the other information. Okay, and since I'm going to talk about the year, the time frame later, or I could even add it here, I could say 1945 to 1991 when the Soviet Union collapses. So that keeps it very simple, gives a clear definition. Maybe I'll even highlight the definition of the Cold War, so I'll add that here. And now I have a definition that's simple and it's easy and it keys in on the important information for my audience. Same thing for this slide here. Again, I've already, included this information, so I don't really need to, have that here. I can decide to have it here or on the other side, but for now I'll take it out of this section. And, maybe what I'll do is I'll kind of abbreviate this and just kind of erase this, again, kind of shortening it to highlight into keywords. Also, maybe to make this a little bit, more friendly, I could just take this out, maybe make it into 2 columns, and these are going to just display all the events that it really touches on. And we'll make it in sort of a list fashion, so that way, again, I'm highlighting key events. So if I make this into columns, which you can go up here to the toolbar, you pick columns and you select 2 columns, and now I've done that. But that actually did not come out correct, so let's go back to 1 column. And so if you notice, that didn't work out correctly. So now what I'm going to do instead is cut this out. I'm going to keep this here, and I'm going to create a new text box with the information that I cut. So that way I can establish a column without any issues. I can establish 2 columns without any issues. All right, and so I can work it down there. Okay, so again, if you notice right now my PowerPoint is still a little bit, it's not user-friendly, it's boring, it's dull, it's bland. So the next thing I want to do, now that I have my content in place, I want to go and start to work with formatting a little bit. So you go up to the home page and design, all right, and then you can go over to themes, all right. Once you hit themes, a variety of different options will come up. Since this is sort of a dramatic time period, I'd like to use, sort of this dramatic background. I think it kind of is appropriate to the theme that we're looking at. I think it's also nice for a video, a PowerPoint presentation that includes a video, because it kind of, again, focuses the audience into the video. But again, if you notice, the text is still bland, there's no real color to it, and so we can go through and change all that a little bit. Since I'm not going to have a subtitle, I'm going to delete that, all right, so that remains up here. And also, to kind of give this a little bit of flavor, I'm going to change the font color to a nice bold maroon. All right, I'm also going to bold the title so it comes up a little bit more with a pop. Also, here, if you guys notice that this is kind of not fitting, the way it should. So maybe what I'll do is I'll take definition out here, because again, it doesn't have a great, and now it's just the Cold War. And what I'll do is I'll put definition here, and I will bullet underneath it the text. All right, but again, if you notice, this is kind of small font, so maybe I'll make the font a little bit bigger. All right, you can do that simply by clicking. It'll make it easier for your audience to be able to read. And I'm also going to change this to maroon and bold. All right, notice that I'm using the same formatting throughout. In this case, I'm going to, again, make this maroon and bold. But again, you're seeing I'm running into the same issue as before. So instead, what I'm going to do with this time is I'm going to just kind of simply alter the content. I'm going to scoot it down a little bit. All right. Now that I'm over here, I want to make this a little bit bigger so it has a little bit more pop to it. I'm also going to make this bigger, and since it is a list, I actually would like to change the coloring, and notice when I'm doing this and making it bigger, I have to kind of rework the formatting. But because I want to make this pop, I'm going to put this in as a yellow. Now notice, I put this as yellow, all right? But one of the key things when you're working with PowerPoints and formatting is you want to make sure that it's visible. Currently in this state, the yellow is not visible on this background. So that means I have to make sure I pick a different color that will be much more, or much easier to read. So instead of the maroon, I've already used maroon, maybe we can kind of pick a a blue that might be highlighted. All right, let's see what that looks like. Okay, and again, you can sort of see that makes much easier for the eyes in order to read this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, just kind of touch everything up in regards to my formatting. Make it sure that it's everything's centered. It looks, visually pleasing. Okay, I have all my information on here that I want. Everything is spelt correctly. Good, and now I'm ready to go. So now the last thing I'm going to worry about is the animation. I have to kind of keep in mind, where do I want the audience's attention to focus, all right? If I'm talking about the Cold War as a state of hostility, and I don't want to yet discuss that it's a direct military conflict, I'm going to actually put in place what is known as animation. So that way, when I add animation here, it will appear after everything else. Okay, and actually I've decided, as I'm doing this, that I actually want to keep this hidden at first because I want them to try to guess what the definition is first. I want to see if any of my students know. So now, unfortunately, it's going to say no direct military conflict first, when really I want it to say a state of hostility between the Soviet Union first. So in order to change this around, I'm going to have to actually change the timing and change the order. So now that I've clicked on 3, if you notice, I clicked on this animation. I want to make this to be the first animation to pop up. I just moved to earlier, and now it's at the 2 part. So now I click on it again. All right, I go to timing, and I again click move earlier. So now it comes up 1, 2, 3. So if we preview this really quick, all right, if we go to view, and then we go to slideshow. And then we go to from current slide. Which is here. You'll notice and this is only going to be a clip of it because I'm recording. Well, that didn't work because the screen is too small. But you'll notice anyway that it'll come up in that order. All right, last thing is to make sure that my animation is done here. I would like the students to guess what events are part of the Cold War. And so as a result or effect of the Cold War. And so I want to add those as animation, but because I won't know what order they all have, they'll say them in, I'm just going to put them all at once after all the students are guessing. I hope you've enjoyed this PowerPoint tutorial. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.